Hello guys, good day to everyone. Welcome to today's class. Today we're talking about introduction to product management. We have with us Shaun on the call. She was here last week and she's here again. Thank you, Shaun, for doing this. Welcome.
Um, so just a disclaimer, I'm a little bit under the weather, so I might be a little bit slow, but please bear with me. Our topic for today is product development, and the by the end of today, I would want you to understand like the product development process, what the lean framework is, and as well as understanding the documents that a product manager is supposed to present and the importance of those documents. So, just for a brief overview, product management refers to the process of creating, designing, and bringing a new product or service to the market. It involves a series of steps and activities aimed at transforming an idea or concept into tangible and market ready offering. The goal of product development is to create products that fulfill customers' needs, solve problems, and generate value for both the producer and the consumer. So, like, um, I'm not sure if some people were here last week. However, referring to what we had spoken about last week, we had said that the reason why we need to be able to have create or develop customers who would eventually buy our product is because we want to be able to have product market fit. Product market fit is when we're able to bring a product to the market that actually solves a customer's needs. We're not bringing it based on vibes. We're not bringing it based on what the CEO has said. And we're not bringing it based on it, I think is going to solve my own problem as a product manager. However, we're bringing it based on the fact that we have done research. We understand who these customers are. We know where to find them. We know what their pain points are. And we know what like the amounts that they would their disposable income, the amounts that they will be willing to spend on a particular product. An example of understanding like disposable income and knowing how much customers will spend would be in the streaming market, for example, like Spotify or Apple Music. You'd realize that, especially for people that are very versatile in terms of what these people charge in different markets, you realize that in the Nigerian market or in the African market, your Spotify charges about 900 naira for a Nigerian account. However, if you go into places that have more disposable income, like America, for example, Spotify charges up to $5, I think 5.99, which if you translate it to naira, that's going to be about 6,000 naira. So, product understanding who or developing your customers as well as product development is looking at all these angles and realizing that for you to be able to bring a product to market, you need to understand who your customers are, the markets that you are trying to bring this product from, and understand that you're actually solving a need to these customers. So for a product to go to market, there are some processes that need to be followed for this to go to market. We spoke about creating your customers. Yes, we have created our customers at this point, and um, so I mean, we have created our customers. Fine, creating your customers is part of the product development process. However, let's assume that you do not have any customers. You just want to start what your product development process is going to be. You first start with idea generation. So let's assume that you're sitting down and you're like, or there's one problem that I feel like I have right now, and I'm like, okay, um should I go into this problem because it's a problem for me? Should I see how many other people have this issue? And the problem is basically how can you transfer your credit score? So I know in Nigeria, people do not do a lot of borrowing. People do not like to borrow because they feel like it's a chain around your neck that would eventually sink you. However, there are countries where for you to even be pardon me, for you to be part of the society in general, you need to be credit worthy. So because a lot of things are done around credit. So you would need to be able to get like a credit card. You need to be credit worthy, and for you to be credit worthy, you need to have been able to spend like a certain amount of money, right? So the problem is people that are migrating, right? How can they transfer their credit worthiness from Nigeria or from the country that they are migrating from, especially if it's a decentralized market? It's not a market that is very unique. You know, people in America, it's almost easy for them to move to the UK or move to Germany and have like their credit worthiness there, because it's it's almost like open banking where they can share data freely because of this, where these companies are. I mean, you see American Express in America, you see American Express in the UK, you see American Express, I think is in Germany, I'm not very sure. So it's very easy to say that, oh, I'm using my American Express credit card in America and I'm moving to, I think there's American Express in South Africa, for example, right? And you're easily integrated into the system because you're taking your credit worthiness from your country, which is America, or from your country, which is South Africa, or your country, which is the Netherlands or Germany, and you're able to just move around all these other countries. However, there's a decentralized market like Nigeria, for example, and I think India is one of those decentralized markets where these American companies or these companies that are global are not necessarily there. So it's very hard to say that, oh, I'm credit worthy in Nigeria and I'm just going to move to South Africa and my credit worthiness will follow me. So for me, I see it as a problem, right? And I'm just like, oh, yes, that's just a general idea. It's a problem for me. I would like to solve that problem. So that's the idea generation part. That's the initial phase where ideas like of new products are brainstormed. People are sitting down and talking and saying, imagine, oh, you're in Atlanta, there's no suya in Atlanta, what should we do? Do you think that we should create a, but like that's the idea generation part where ideas are free, it's a dime a dozen, a lot of people have it. However, that's not the um while it's an important process for product development, having an idea is not going to bring it to production. It's not going to bring it to the life system, or it's not going to bring it to your customers' hands. There are processes you need to be able to follow. Like I said, ideas are a dime a dozen, but you need to be able to say that this idea is even worth it. Is it just my problem? This is where the idea screening part comes into place, where you're just like, okay, yes, we've had this idea, right? Is great. Let's screen this idea. Some people in some companies that I've worked in, we had what they call like a product approval board, where you need to be able to, the ideas that you've had, you need to be able to defend why people should fund that idea, why people should remove the budget from a particular or add budgets to the financial year for you to be able to um, bring this idea to life. So the idea screening phase might not be a product approval board. It might not, it might just be I had this idea and you're calling your squad. So you either have like other product managers in your team, or you have, I mean, if you have engineers, for example, you need to be able to even speak to them to say, is this thing visible? What is our technology like? Is it going to be able to hold these ideas? You go to that screening phase where you're having conversations with people and people are asking you questions. Be sure that you've actually thought through this idea. That is not just a more based on like the statistics of imaginary, or the imaginary bureau of statistics, where you're just like, guy, leave him because I said so. You're you have like I mean, it's an idea literally. So you have a lot of congent information to be able to back it up. So this is like the phase where you're trying to see, is this going to be feasible? I mean, this can even be the phase where you're actually gathering your data as well, where questions that you have not asked yourself, people are asking you and you're just like, okay, that's fine. They are saying, oh, what's your customer segment? You've not thought about the customer segment. You just thought about the idea and you're jotting it down to say, okay, yeah, great. Let me even go and find out more about these things. But you are putting that idea to a test to say, does this hold water? People are asking you critical questions. And this doesn't have to be like high up in the hierarchy. It doesn't have to be like your what do you call it? Obviously it can be your manager, because you also want your manager to be involved, but it doesn't have to be like your CEO or like a chief financial officer, or it doesn't even have to be where you would call risk and compliance and all those people that are basically people that put guardrails to how a product should be built. It can be your team members to say, guys, this is what I thought. If there was a problem, for example, and you're just like, guys, I was thinking this particular problem, this is how I think we should solve it. You're having conversations with your engineering team, and they're just like, okay, yes, it might be feasible. You're having conversations with maybe people that you're very close to in the business team to say, is this a customer problem? Anyways, that's the idea screening phase where people are asking you questions. You're also asking yourself questions to see if this idea is feasible and if it's going to be worth chasing, if it's more than just an idea. Then we have the concept development and testing phase, where this idea is where promising ideas are further developed into concept designs. These concepts are then presented to potential customers to gather feedback and gauge interest. So this phase it's very, very important that you're working with your user experience team as well as your user design team to develop the concept for this. If you're in a very big organization where there are different roles, you have like a customer digital experience lead, you have, I mean, like the digital experience lead is different from the product manager, or your user experience and your design team or your user research are different people. This is the point where you need to be able to call them together to say, guys, this is the idea that we have. Excuse me, this is the idea we have. We've gone past like the screening phase, like you have gone past the screening phase and you're having conversations with them that this is it, let's go and basically ask these customers if this is what they like. In a situation where if you're in a small company where you do not have the liberty to have all these other people to work with, which sometimes I feel like is a blessing because you're literally the controller general of your shop, then this is where you go into creating low fidelity designs or wireframes by yourself, right? And you're having conversations with, I mean, this is where, as a product manager, you have to be multi skilled, where you have to go into understanding how to create wireframes, low fidelity mockups, how you literally need to be working like with an engineer to say, I've designed this thing on Figma. Can you give me like something to work with the with the customers? Sometimes it might just be a proof of concept. To be very honest, it really doesn't have to be like you have to create a design. Forgive me, it might just be a proof of concept where you're just like, you know what, I just want to test this with my customers, but everything is going to be offline. I had a situation like that where I created, it was like a proof of concept. So it was very manual. It was a customers, what is the end goal or what's the objective? Customers need to be able to do X. Great. So to be able to do X, what needs to happen? They need to do this. Who are the people in charge of those things? It was literally very manual to say, you business, this is what you have to do for this to come to life. This is what you have to do. This is what you have to do. And I mostly use proof of concept when there's little to no data about this market, the customers that we're trying to reach out to, or there's data, right? But this data is not sufficient enough because you've not been able to find what the pain point of the customers are. So this is the concept development and testing phase. Is just where you have like where you have just it's not high level, it's not well done. This is not the MVP. This is just a very low fidelity or just a process flow where you're just like, I need customers to be able to do this so that I'll be able to gather enough data and make a decision to see if this is something that we need to put energy into. So there's a business analysis phase where, to be very honest, for you to be able to do any type of business analysis, you need to be able to have some sort of data, right? So the concept development and testing phase, sorry, is the part where you're able to gather data enough for whoever, like I said, if you have a big team, for example, you as a product manager, you'll not be the one doing the concept development and testing. Of course, you'll be working with your user research and your user experience team to do that, right? And then you hand this over to the information that has been gathered when you have been able to conceptualize that data, working with your business analyst if you have a BA, but in a team where you literally it's just you, the CEO, and some other people, or in fact in a medium team as well, where there are no other there are no other roles around like supporting the manager role, where the product manager is product specialist, product manager, product owner, and BA. This business analysis is your responsibility. So it's a detailed analysis of the potential market, the target audience, the competition, and financial projection that is conducted. So you're using you've had your you've tested the market, or you've tested your customers. Your customers have been able to, they've told you that, oh yeah, this actually solves my problem. This is very important, or they've given you like enough data, right? Or enough information that you need for that particular period. So you're doing your business analysis to say what is even the market size, right? I've gone to a certain segment of this market. What's the market size? Who are the competitors in this market? Excuse me. How would be what's going to be that unique selling point that would make me stand out from these competitors? What's the thing that I'm willing to bring to the market that the competitors do not have, that is going to make these customers come to me? So you are defining who your target audience are. You're seeing what your potential market is. Is it a free for all market? Is it a market where the barrier to entry is not high, or is it markets where the barrier to entry is very high that you need to? So I would use like financial inclusion or POS markets, where, to be very honest, while the barrier to entry is not high, right, you need funds to be able to enter the market, because as you're coming into that market, you're competing with people like, you know them, no need to call their names, and those other people as well, no need to call their names. You're competing with them, and these people have already given POS terminals to their customers. They already have a high standard of like when they talk of transaction success rate, they have a very high transaction success rate. So in terms of time to wallet and all those things that you typically measure for, they already have all those things. So when you're coming to the market, you need to be able to say that you're solving a pain point that is either a pain point that they never thought was a pain point, or they have not addressed, or you're coming into the market with some sort of solution that they haven't actually thought about. So you need to be able to have those things. You need to be able to document these things, like have product artifacts where when you're going to your product approval board, or you're going to discuss it with your CEO, or you're going to discuss it with people that would make decisions about this funding, you're able to answer these questions. The idea screening phase is okay if you are not able to answer questions that are viable because you just had an idea, right? You don't have enough data. But between your testing, concept development and testing, and your analysis phase, you need to have gathered enough data, done a lot of research. Sometimes, and I understand it, in Nigeria, research um is a little bit daunting, because you can't just go online, and or you can't just go to like a bureau of statistics and say, oh, give me the data of all working class adults, for example, because day before yesterday, before I went to bed, definition of working class adults were people that had worked, I think, 8 hours. So the employment rate was, or how to measure employability, or um, employment rate in Nigeria was adults between 18 and 65 that had worked at least I think that work at least 8 hours every day in Nigeria, right? So we had a very low employment rate, where our employment rate was about 34% or something. And then I woke up this morning and I realized that they've changed it though. Now employment rate is people that have worked at least 1 hour in a month. So I can understand where it can be a little bit daunting, to be honest, to do like research, because data is being skewed in in this market where one thing that was the data yesterday is not there today. And then sometimes you can't even find this data, right? So that's where the whole proof of concept comes into place, where you actually have to do usability tests, where you have to um have like a small part. It doesn't, this is not where you do like your MVP, right? This is where you have to do like a what do you call it, a wireframe or a proof of concept, or just basically creating like a process flow and saying, let's test this, let's get users to do this. So this would be a situation where if you were in food, for example, this would be a situation where you're just like, you know what, let me just take samples to let me just get my shop there, or let me just get a banner somewhere outside my house, for example, and tell people that, so I'm thinking of cooking, or I'm thinking of making suya, or these are some of the things that I want to cook. Do you think that you would buy it? And they're telling you, oh yeah, 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 I'll buy it. Oh, this one looks very delicious. Oh, when will I be able to have a taste of this one? And then you're like, okay, great. Customers seem to like it. Let me even see. Let me go back to the drawing board and say, where is my market? Who are these customers that I even spoke to? You're documenting all that, and then you go into the product development and design phase where, excuse me, where now this product and design phases, once the concept has been refined and approved, the actual design and development process begins. So you have spoken to your engineers. Your engineers are telling you that, see, this thing, we have the technology for it to do it. We're at your back. Or infrastructure is there. Or we're like, or they're like, you know what, the infrastructure is not there. We need to be able to do this kind of integration, this kind of thing. But you've spoken to your engineers, you've spoken to excuse me, you've spoken to your design team. Your design team is saying, see, we are ready, we have those designs for you. You've spoken to your compliance and risk team, and they're just like, oh, our risk appetite for this is 1%. Don't lose more than 1% of this amount of money. Or and your compliance team is telling you that, don't worry, regulate, you don't have any regulator in this market, go wild, please, like knock it off the park. And you're like, okay, fine. So this is the development phase, actually, where you're using things like your user stories, where you have your epic, which are like huge features that need to, like your, no, sorry, your epics are not huge features. Your epics are your epics, where your epic is, I want to fly. And then you're like, okay, yes, I want to fly is a very great dream. You need to be able to break them down into features to say, if I want to fly, what are the things that I'll be able to do to fly? What are the things I need to have, sorry, to fly? I need to have like a jet pack, for example. I need to have helmets. I need to have jet shoes. I need to have gloves. I need to have glasses that would help me when I'm flying. I also need to have like a Iron Man suit to add to the jetpack. Great. Those are your features. Then your features are then broken down into user stories to say that, now, for us to be able to get these things, what are the things that we need to do, right? You're breaking them down into user stories and acceptance criteria and telling your and user stories are basically where you tell stories from your user's point of view to say, a typical one is just, as a user, I want to do this so that I will do this. So you want to be able to have a goal. So what is the action you want to be able to perform? What is the goal for that action? So as a user, I want to be able to get a jet ski pack so that I can be lifted up from the ground, for example. So the goal is, this is what I want to be able to do so that this is the required result that I want to have, right? And then your engineers are coming into it to say, you know what, actually, this user story is very, very great. So what are the things that the engineers need to be able to do? Having conversations with them, they're saying, okay, for you to be able to get the jet ski pack, or a power pack, or whatever they wear at the back so that you'll be able to fly, we need to be able to do X. We need to be able to first get a tank. We need to be able to get hardware so that we can put all those things together to create this thing. So this product development and design phases where you're working hand in hand with your design team, working hand in hand with your engineers to ensure that this idea that you've had, this concept that you have is brought to life. Then you have the prototype testing and iteration. Prototypes are to identify any flaws or areas that need improvement. Feedback from testing is used to iterate on the design and functionality of the product. Like the concept development phase, you can also have prototype testing as well, where literally I would call this like your MVP, where you've created a minimum viable product, right? So sometimes MVP is a concept from Lean where you have to create like a small product, put it out and test it and then come back. So I would use flying for example. A minimum product for flying is I want to be able to fly. What is the end goal? Fly, right? You might not have your Iron Man suit to wear on. You might not have your what they call it. You might not have your gloves, for example, or the shoe, but we're just like, okay, you can use your New Balance canvas to fly, to be honest. You can also wear your own sunshades to fly. You don't really need any specific thing for now. While that it is a like should have if you're using Moscow, it is not a must have, right? The must have at this point is that we need to be able to fly. So the thing that is very important to fly is your backpack, your backpack to be able to fly, the thing that lifts you from the ground. So you've created a backpack, right? And you that is like your minimum viable product, and you're giving it to your customers to say, you know what, guys, um, we're not going to the general public. We're going to our early adopters, the people that I have tested my concept with to say, guys, how far I said I was going to make food and you people said you would be interested, right? Now I've made the food, you people should come and test it. And then you're giving it to them to say, tell me, use it, tell me what is missing. Yes, your early adopters will tell you about how you need your sunglasses, you need glasses to be able to fly, you need your um like specific made shoes for flying, you need gloves, you need the suits and all that. Yes, but you already know because those things are in your backlog. You already know that those things are important. They're in your backlog. You're there, like, yes, it's in my backlog. And you're telling them, yes, yes, yes. However, this one that I have created, what they will not start telling you that, see, to be honest, it ejects. Like when I try to turn it on, it ejects, and that bounce on the floor is not very important. Is there a way that it can just go smoothly? Or people are telling you that, see, this is really nice, but there was no way for me to land. I was not able to land. Very funny because if that person wasn't able to land, that person would have been dead. But like so, but the idea is that they're telling you, they're giving you feedback about the things that you have, this minimum viable product, this prototype, and you're taking it back to say thank you guys for this, and you're putting it in your backlog, and you're prioritizing that backlog, and you're telling your engineers based on priority. I think the next thing is these people should be able to learn, because all those other customers that I had, they're still in the air right now and they've not landed. So is there a way that this can land so that we can bring those customers down? Because to me, that's the most important, to be honest. And then there are things around, you can fix the nice to have, like, that jerking thing is not, they don't like that they're jerking, they just want a smooth, so that is like the product development and the prototyping and testing and iteration phase, where you have a product that you've put out, right? You have a very minimum viable product that you've put out, and they're testing it and people are using it and they're giving you feedback and you're improving on it, and then you're able to say, great, is this something that I want to give to a better market audience? So this is where market testing comes in, where in this stage, a limited release of the product is made to a specific market segment. This helps gather real world feedback and data on how the product performs and how customers interact with it. So you've tested it with your early adopters and you're just like, okay, should we release it to a larger audience so that they can actually give us feedback? Maybe our early adopters or the people that we have gone to do like prototype with, or maybe your first release was internally, you wanted your internal team to test it and people were just giving you feedback based on Sean is the product manager, now let's not be that what I'm saying will make a manager think that they are not developing products well. So you're like, okay, thank you very much, my best friends or my office friends, you people love me, my work friends, but this feedback keep are giving me is great. Let me even go and test it to the wider audience. So you're releasing it to a very limited segment of the market to say that market, this is what I have for now. Test it and give me feedback. At this phase, I want to be honest with you that you need to be able to be very strong as a product manager because there are people that do not, for any reason, have an idea where you had started or what you're trying to do. They just happen to have wandered into that your market segment, right? And they're testing your product and they're giving you like the most honest feedback that sometimes you might find it very, like if you're not great with criticism, you find it very daunting. So this is where you have feedback on. So if it's a product that you released on maybe Google or Apple, this is where people have tried to log in first time and they're going to that review to give you 1 star and they are writing out their mind to say this your product is, pardon my French, shit. This your product is garbage, rubbish. People don't know how to develop product in that your company. And it's fine. You need this feedback to be able to improve on your product. And you're saying that, guys, your money. So as a product manager, some of the places that I man is just just Google your product, right? Go on the app stores and see where what the reviews are. Go on social media, Twitter, Instagram, and go and see what people are saying about your product. Because like Twitter is literally like the place where people very honestly are putting out their feedback about things to say this product is very, very nonsense. You're going there, you're seeing what the feedback is. If you have the opportunity or if you have the time, which you do need to have the time as a product manager to say that, okay, these people, do you want to reach out to them personally? Sometimes you might not want to reach out to them personally, right? You might not have that access to them to say, oh, let me even reach out to this person personally to say, what don't you like about my product? But you're taking this feedback and then you're improving on it as a product because if you do not improve on your product, people would not use it. And one thing that is very important is that when you've taken this feedback and you have fixed it, it's very important to go back to the market to say, see, we have fixed this thing. Can you people test it again and see that it's fine? Because nobody, no customer has that time, has that liberty to say that, oh yes, I was even using Shion's product safe and I realized that login, it was shit. Like I could not even log in. Let me even go back and see whether they fixed it. Nobody's going to do that. However, you need to be able to put information out so that if I remember that, it's true, that Shion's product would have been the ideal thing to solve this my problem. Let me even go and check whether they have. And then I go to even say, let me even see, have they fixed this issue? I'm seeing that, oh yes, they have said it, that they fixed the issue, either in their release note on their app store. They've told me that this issue, it has been fixed. Or I'm on Twitter and I'm searching and I'm like, oh yes, it's true. They've said it that they fixed this product. On their social media, they're telling us that they fixed this issue. I can go back and go and test it. So it's very important as a product manager that when you have taken feedback from your customers or from people that have just not they're not your customers, someone just told them, but they've given you this feedback and you fixed it, go back and say, guys, this issue that you've had, even though it has taken us 10 years, we've actually fixed it. Sometimes the market would have moved on, but you need to be able to tell them that, yes, that has been fixed. Then commercialization, if the product passes the market testing phase, is prepared for full-scale production and launch. So like I said, you are, excuse me, you are testing your MVP, you've gone to market, you've done like an internal pilot, you have released it to a certain segment of the market, and you're saying that they're telling you like, Baba, this is the best thing since whatever was good in our country. And you're like, yes, yes, great. My God, you're patting yourself on the back, telling your engineers that we are the best team, as in the dream team. You're like, great. Then it's time to commercialize it, to say that you're going to market, actual going to market. Who are the people that you need here? You need your marketing team. Like I said, if you're a one-man army, yeah, product and marketing, then that's your duty. You're identifying your customer audience. You've already identified them when you were doing your customer development. You've already identified them when you were trying to test. You've already identified them when you were in the concept development and testing phase. You've identified them when you were prototyping, because you're not just giving it to random people, you're giving it to your audience to do all those testing, right? You've identified them. You already know that the best way to meet these people is, these people are never on social media. You need to have a billboard. Do you people have money for billboard? We don't have money for above the line. No, we need to. Do you understand? Like, so you then excuse me, try to find out, oh, we don't have money for billboard. Or how else can you reach these customers? Oh, it would be better if we have, since we don't have money for billboards, let's have like a road show. There are not a lot of people. Oh, there was a time in my life where I was working in a great big company, but you see, as a product manager, that you would take different shapes and forms. What did we do? We wore the shirts for our products, and we were going from, we identified the markets that we needed to be there, and we were going from market to market, shop to shop, to say, have you heard of this my product? We've never heard of it before. So do you mean that all the radio jingles that we've had is not, and you're not even listening? Like, sorry. So you need to be able to identify your market and how to reach this market, and then go to meet them that way. Let them know that you have launched the product that will solve their problem. So imagine launching a product that would solve people in, like, that would be able to transfer your credit score from where you are to where you want to be, right? And you're advertising to, for of people, like, to people in where you want to be. No, you start advertising where you are now, to say, Nigerians, oh, we will be able to transfer your credit score from here to Dubai. What you need to do is to now start building your credit score here. Imagine advertising to people in Dubai and telling them that, Nigerians in Dubai will be able to transfer your credit score from Nigeria. Okay, but I did not build my credit score when I was in Nigeria. So what am I going to do now? So you identify the markets that you where your custom the markets where your customers are, and the channel in which you can reach them, and then you start reaching them through that channel. If they are very upward mobile tech savvy people that they can't remember the last time that they heard radio, but you see podcasts, they would always listen to it. You identify the popular ones. Obviously, we already know that if money is not a problem, right, there's so many things that we'll be able to do. However, you can't throw money at every problem. Anyway, so you identify where you are going to reach them. Oh, they are very FK Angela's podcast. They are always on FK Angela's podcast, laughing and listening to all those stuff. And you're just like, okay, we can't give FK Angela money. What is the thing that we can do with them? Well, that's the whole marketing thing is a whole topic on its own. But the idea of commercialization is identifying where, how, and where you meet your target audience, and ensuring that as you go live and you begin your go to market, you're meeting them at that particular point. Then commercialization also ties into launch and marketing as well, where you need to be, like I said, you need to be able to identify how, where to promote your effort. You've gone live, where do you want to promote this effort? Are you going to Dubai for customers in Nigeria? Are you going to what do you call it? Are you going to Germany for customers that are in Aba? Do you understand? Understanding your market audience, where to meet them, and where to put your efforts for your primary customers. Then, very important, right? When you launch a product, that is not where product development ends. Because if it ends at that point, then your CEO will say, it's all right, everyone, work has finished. Let's have a nice day, right? And then you not have a job again. But that's not it. There's a post-launch evaluation and maintenance, right? This is where you're gathering actual useful information, like customers at every point, every product that you build is literally a data point where you're getting information from these customers, right? You're seeing the pattern of their life. That's why people always used to say that they would say shoe, or they would think about a shoe, and then before you know, they're saying it everywhere on Instagram. Because whether you agree or not, right, we are in this internet of things where everything is connected to the internet. You have your computer, you have your phone, you have your internet, and that all these things are feeding data, and this data is being passed to whoever is being passed to. Your I don't want to say chatting because people get scared, but you're conversing with your friends, you're having conversations with them. They already know that Sean is your facilitator for today. If they want to promote something to Sean, so that Sean would use it when she's facilitating you people, they would have seen, oh yeah, 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 how many other people would be on this. So we are literally in this internet of things generation, or internet of things era, where everything is connected to the internet, where literally you cannot, like, think about it. Can you actually leave your house without having your phone that has Google Maps that will show you where you're going to, or that has your phone that will show you how much you have, so that you'll be able to withdraw money at the bank? We're literally in the internet of things. So when you launch something, you don't just raise your hand and say, thank God, do I've launched it. That's where your post-launch evaluation and maintenance comes in. You're gathering data from your customers. You're seeing what their habits are. You're seeing that, oh, my customers, at this particular time of the day, transactions do not go through because so and so and so. I mean, people are sleeping. There was one thing that so I was having a conversation with someone, and I was telling the person that for electricity consumption, right, that is better to use your electricity at night, because what do you call it? Because they charge you less for electricity at night. And the person was asking me, "Oh, how do you know that?" And to be very honest, I'm a TikTok girly too. I go to TikTok to search for information. But the funny part is that the person then went to what do you call it? There was like a gathering. So it was literally like a debate to say, well, I don't have data to back this thing up, but, and funny enough, like 2 days later, the person went to like a tech conference where one of the people that one of the electric or power giants was like one of their top people were like having conversations, and the person was just like, oh yes, that the with how data comes in, they're able to see when people use electricity the most, and that they're able to do load balancing, that they already know that during the day people use more electricity. So in terms of load balancing, every what they call it, they are deploying their capacity to the day, and then at night people do not use as much electricity. So it's there are not a lot of, like, they don't really need to deploy a lot of electricity there. And the person came back to say, actually, you were right though, yes, it's true, but well, I didn't have data to back it, so I couldn't argue. I get it. But I mean, the person that was, I mean, someone in the company that was able to explain why they do a lot of load balancing, was able to explain that, and the person was able to understand that, oh yes, that's why when you use electricity at night, I mean, you don't get to use a lot of kilowatts when you use, like, do a lot of things with electricity at night. This is not, I don't know how it works in for the people that provide you electricity. So this is not to say you should do it, but for the people that provide me electricity, that was it. Anyways, the point of this whole gist is that I was trying to explain how, using data, this electricity giant was able to see that yes, people use more electricity during the day. In the day, if you have hot plate, you're using your hot plate, you're ironing your clothes, you're charging your phones, you're watching TV, you're using your laptop plugged to your this thing. In fact, we are so bad with electricity that our things are plugged all day long. Your AC is on. I mean, it's hotter during the day, obviously. So your AC is on, your fans are on, cooler at night. So you're just like, you know what, I don't even need AC. So you're turning it off, you're not cooking, you're not blending anything, you're not doing anything like that, right? So they were able to see these habits and say that, yes, people use more electricity during the day. So we are going to deploy more electricity there. And all this is not based on assumption, it's based on data that they have been monitoring and maintaining their products. They can say that, oh, yes, indeed, people use more electricity during the day because they have data. It's not based on like I used to say, the Bureau of Imaginary Statistics. You just thought it up. No, they have data. So at post launch, after you have launched your product, you need to be able to evaluate it, collect feedback, all the Google, you need to still be able to do NPS score where when people are using your product, you're asking them, what's your experience using this? Would you recommend this to someone else? Customer satisfaction index, you're collecting data, you're looking at your data to say, oh yes, where did this why are people not using this at this particular time? And then you're able to also use your product to say it's true. I can see that this is a problem for customers. How can we mend this and make customer experience better? You're also able to maintain it. Take this and go back to say that, guys, will see this particular thing. I try to when autofill or when autocorrect or when particular problem I saw with one product, that once you use autocorrect, it autofills. Sorry, when you use autofill, it autofills like whatever sheets you're trying to fill, right? However, because the product does not have a particular thing, when it picks your location and it fills it, the product will tell you that other thing is not there. So when you're as a product manager, you're looking at all those things, you're testing your product by yourself, you're using your product when it's in production, you're collecting feedback from your customers, and then you're maintaining your product. So these are basically what the product life circle or the product development life circle is, right? Where starts from idea and then it goes into and you go into development, and even after development you're still gathering information, putting it into your backlog, and then prioritizing it, and then fixing these issues or coming up with new ideas and going through the life cycle as well. I don't know, if there are any questions at this point, but let me go into Lean framework. So, the Lean product management is basically an approach to product development and management that focuses on maximizing value while minimizing waste. It is inspired by Lean principle, which were initially popularized in manufacturing by Toyota and later adapted to various industries, including software and product development. The goal of Lean product management is to create products that effectively address customers' needs while efficiently utilizing resources. So basically, the Lean framework is something that has been on for a very long time. Like Toyota has used it. One great thing about like this life is that there's nothing necessarily new, right? We always just find ways to improve things. So Lean was being used um in manufacturing where they were trying to make the best out of the resources that they have and try to reduce waste. So Lean framework is just a product development concept to help us to manage waste. Excuse me. To help us to manage waste, to help us to manage the time that we spend doing things, to basically maximize our efforts and reduce waste. Now, there are some key principles of Lean, right? Where there's value stream, flow, pull, and perfection. So value is to identify what provides value to the customers. So identifying what provides value to the customer, for example, is excuse me, is sorry, is I would use an example of let's say as a customer, you want the customer wants to be able to so your product is a product where you need to be able to request for something. For example, you've identified that that thing that they're requesting for provides value to the customer, right? You go into value stream. So this is a to be able to map out the steps required to deliver the value. So like I would use the example of, let me use Amazon for example, where Amazon, you as the customer, right? Or Amazon sees that value for you is being able to buy your goods and have your goods delivered to you and on time, right? So on Amazon's end now, value is, at the end of the day, I want delivery. of this particular good, any particular good that the customer has deemed worthy to buy, right? So Amazon will say, to be able to provide value for this person, we need to be able to do like a value. We want to map out. We want to create like a value stream. That's basically being able to map out the steps required to deliver this value. And on their end, what are the steps? So let's assume that um, um, the first step would be the customer needs to be able to request for an item, for example. They've mapped it out. What is the process of requesting for an item? Oh, you go here, you do this, you do this. The second step for value is that when this thing has been requested, we need to be able to alert um, the merchants, for example. We alert the merchant. The merchant does this, does this, does this. The other step is that we need to be able to, when the merchant has done this, we need to be able to do quality assurance. We do this, we do this, we do this for quality assurance. And then we need to be able to take it to this place. We do this, we do this, we do this. So value stream is basically, excuse me, value stream is literally being able to map out the steps to be able to deliver value. So the value is I have I don't know, I don't care what Amazon does. I want to be able to receive my mouse that I've ordered for. Amazon on the end will start mapping out what needs to be done, the people that need to do this for me to be able to get that value. So that is what value stream does. And with lean, what value stream does is that like once you've been able to list out the like map out the value, you start seeing where you're wasting a lot of time, right? So for example, if we use Amazon for example, and then the merchant needs to bring the product to a fulfillment center, for example, and then Amazon's people now need to go to that fulfillment center and then now do quality assurance. And then when they now do quality assurance, for example, they find out that this is not up to quality. The person now needs to send it back, like, or the merchant needs to now come back to pick it and something. Once you're able to map out that process, you're seeing that that particular process has a lot of hiccups. Like it's not hiccup, it's wasting a lot of time where the merchant needs to bring something, then the quality assurance team needs to come and validate it before there's now a right. You would see that, oh yes, that's taking a lot of time. Something that would have taken delivery that would have taken maybe 24 hours, for example, is taking like 3 days because there's a merchant, there's a quality assurance person. Why not find a better way to do that? Where does the merchant need to come instead of the merchant coming when that person requests for a good, for example? Shouldn't the merchant have samples that um, Amazon has already, or shouldn't Amazon give this merchant standard to say for this particular thing, these are the things you need to take up for it to be quality. So the merchant already knows that as I'm coming to drop my goods, if I don't meet all these requirements, then I'm not going to even drop that good. So value stream helps you to see where there is a lot of time being wasted. So flow smoothly move the work through the value stream. So flow is for you to be able to smoothly move the work through the value stream. So an example of flow is basically in engineering, like software engineering, where you have an engineer, you have a tester, you have the product management team, and then you have DevOps, where once the engineer is done on your lean with a piece of work, he's pushing it to the tester. The tester is testing and pushing it to the product manager and saying acceptance criteria have been met. Test that acceptance criteria is met on your end as well. And once the product manager is done testing, the product manager is like, great, is great. DevOps is picking that and deploying your into your pre-production environment. And once the feature has been completed, you're deploying it into production. You already know, it's literally the flow. You already know that yes, work is moving to who it needs to be moved to, not the one that the engineer has finished. And the engineer is like, I beg, we don't have tester. Who's supposed to be testing it? Product manager is like, do you I like, so flow is being able to, you have mapped out the value stream and then you're smoothly passing it to who needs to the next person in the value stream, and there's no hiccup. Then there's the pull, the let customers demand drive. let the customer's demand drive production and process. Like I said, you would not develop a product based on, my CEO said, your customers are the ones demanding, they're using it, they're telling you that yes, we've tested this, we think that this one, we've used this, we think that this is the next thing that you need to build. Obviously you're not just going to say, oh, all the things that the customers say we should build, we are taking it. No, you're also there as a product manager to be able to sieve what is nice to have, what is a must have, what is a should have, and what is, you know what, we don't need this. You're able to identify it that, okay, yes, this is a must have. What, and your must have would always be tied to the objective as a business. What is the objective as a business? Oh, our objective is to make money by all means necessary. Fine. If this is not something that they're going to pay for, you know, it doesn't match with your objective. So that's what basically pull is. And then perfection is to continuously strive for improvement. Literally, that is like the continuous improvement, continuous development, where you need to be able to continuously strive for improvement. You're taking feedback, you're saying, how can we make this better? Oh, you have the best product in the world. There's nothing you can do. That's great, but there are still other customer needs that we haven't solved for. So let's go and try to solve for those needs. Um, So that's basically what the lean framework is about. And this is just basically the and what they call it, the lean business model canvas that are sometimes used in terms of product artifacts, are sometimes used for when you're talking about, like when you're speaking about lean, or when you are trying to when you're developing your product artifact, your product requirement document. Sometimes when, because we are moving, or we've moved to this era where we are using lean, people like to use the product this lean business model canvas as, yep, as one of the things that they put in their product requirement document as product artifact. So the problem phase, so their problem, so this is not a standard. I've seen a lot. I've seen in my previous place of job, of work. I think I used something similar to this. Oh yeah, yeah. I think this was exactly what I used. But as I continue to research on it, I realized that there are different things that people also add into it, depending on the kind of business that they have, as well as the customer segments that they are going into, or the product that they are building, because they need to be able to put a lot of information at a glance. So number one just talks about like your customer segment, where you list your target customer and your users. Most times these people are like your early adopters, and you need to be able to list like the characteristics of the ideal customer. Number two is like the problem that, so the problem is basically, what's this document that I'm building now, or this product that I'm trying to get to market, what's the problem that this thing is solving? You also need to be able to list like your existing alternatives, like who are my competitors in quotes. In some people's when people some other people are drawing it, there's actually a point for competitors where they would write out who their competitors are. Number three, very important. What is your unique value proposition? Like, what's making you stand out? Why should I use you and not use your competitor? So you're listing it there in a glance. People are able to see that this lean business model canvas is very internal. At no point do people share it to their customers, right? Internal is to be able to have conversations with your stakeholders, because your stakeholders will ask you that, why do you want me to put money into this? Why do you want me to sell this your product, right? When they are 1 million, what's the thing that this your product is giving to my customers that the competitors will not give? And then you're able to say, this is the unique value proposition. Oh, other people are not able to. And your unique value proposition sometimes has to be congruent, because it has to be strong, because you're going into a market that is probably oversaturated. Sometimes your unique selling proposition for features might not be very, very great, right? It might just be that. To be very honest, I don't think you need lean business model canvas for features. It's mostly for epics, so products or like very big epics. Yes, so there's like the high level concepts where you list your unique. I'm not a fan of this um list your X for Y analogy, or like, okay, YouTube equals to Flickr for videos. I'm not a fan of this. Or I'm the Uber of medicine, for example. Not a fan. I always like it, or I prefer it when people are original. Like there was one company that said they're the, you know what, no shade. Anyways, so I really just like it to be original. You don't have to be an Uber for something. I mean, you, I see that sometimes I see the sense in it, in the sense that sometimes that's the only way to explain what your to explain to people that are not in the environment, or are not do not have like affinity with that problem, to say that is the best, or is the better way to explain to them, so that they would have like an idea of what you're trying to solve. But I feel like there are better ways as well. So you have your four, that's your proposed solution. Now, this is not to say that you are, so if you're, it's just a highlight of what your solution is. So people have issues with medicine, for example, or they're not able to get important medicine that they need. Oh, this is where pharmacy comes in, right? And then you are just having like a snippet to say the idea of so 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 and so is to do so 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 and so. Your very short and simple way for the solution. Um we're going to bring medicine to our customers, or we're going to bring credit to our diaspora people. Just an idea of what the solution is going to be, because obviously your solution is beyond a statement, so you would not be able to write all that in this. Then you have your key metrics as well. As a product manager, it's important what you do not measure, you do not improve. So, and before you even start saying that you want to build a product or whatnot, you need to be able to see what your key metrics are. So, what's success going to look like for you? As a product manager, what's success going to look like for the business? You're putting out your key metrics to say that success for us would be the number of customers. So you want to be able to say how many people are onboarded your as key metrics. Oh, the number of transactions done per day, the number of successful transactions, or the number of people that use our jet ski. So you're able to list out your key metrics. So you're also able to list out your cost structure. So what are the fixed costs and the variable costs? So if, for example, it's like a company you're starting for from the scratch, you're listing out hiring costs, or who, if your engineers are on part-time basis, for example, or if your engineers are, you're listing out what your fixed and variable costs are. What are the, if fixed cost is, oh, we need to be able to buy, if at onboarding, for example, you need to be able to give your customers a certain thing, you know that it's going to be part of the costs that you are putting there. So what are the things that what are the fixed costs, what are the variable costs, what are we going to be spending our money on, and what is going to be oh, we're spending our money this one, you're spending your money on it every time, and what's something that, oh, is based on maybe marketing, for example. You know that the marketing that you do at launch would not be the same when you're bringing out the feature. So you need to be able to have your cost structure as well as your revenue stream. Obviously, every business is in business to make money. Every business is in business to make money. So you are able to list out what the revenue stream is. Oh, we're going to sell our customers' data, or we're going to be able to take a certain amount when customers do transactions, or when customers will be able to buy this and this and this of the store to be able to complete something. So you're able to list out all the ways that you want to be able to make money. As a product manager, there are some things that obviously you are not going to be able, like if you're looking at cost structure as well as revenue streams, right? You're having conversations with finance, you're having conversations with your business team to say, guys, this is what I'm doing. Oh, this is what we are doing. How can we make money from this? And people are talking about ways to make money. It's not every time that you are taking a transaction cost. right? Sometimes you're able to say that um you're able to restructure the way that you're making money in a way that, I mean, all this, once you're able to understand your customers, you're able to understand how they spend and what their disposable income is, you'll be able to come up with revenue stream and um what they call it, and like a pricing model that suits your customers. So some product artifacts that are very important are like the requirements document, which outlines the functional and non-functional requirements of the product. They detail what the product needs to achieve and how it should behave. So your requirements document, you already know you need it as a product manager. This is going to be a guide for you as a product manager, your stakeholders, as well as your engineers. So at the end of the day, if your product is not behaving the way it's supposed to, you're like, nope, that is not the idea for what this was supposed to do. You also have like your user stories. Your user stories are brought out of your requirements. So there are short descriptions of specific product features or functionalities from the user's perspective. They help prioritize and define work items for development. You also have your wireframes and mockup, which are basically like a representation of the user interface. So you're working with your, I mean, unless you know how to do it, but you're working with, or you don't have someone that does it for you, you're working with your user design and user experience team to create this. For your requirements documents, obviously you're working with your other stakeholders to gather their requirements, right? And to document it. Your user story, you're working with, if you have like a BA, for example, or if you don't have a BA, you have like an engineering manager, or you have someone that understands technology, so that as you're writing out the user story and the acceptance criteria, and you're working with your tester as well. So your tester has an understanding of what they're testing for. So as you're writing your user story and acceptance criteria, they're also writing enabler, your engineering team or someone in your team is writing like enabler stories to say that if you're saying as a user, I want to be able to do X so that I would achieve Y, your engineering team or someone that has technical knowledge, or if you are the one that has the technical knowledge, you're writing the enabler stories as well to say if the customer needs to be able to do X, Y needs to be done to enable this. You also have like your prototypes as well. Sometimes people do not have prototypes, but very is if you do, it's not for me. This is not what a must-have, but so interactive mock-ups or models for the product that allow stakeholders to experience and test its functionality before full development. So there are sometimes that you might not have a prototype, which is supposed to be like a I mean, an interactive model. Sometimes you might not have them, depending on the product you have. Sometimes you might. Then there's architecture and design diagram, which very very important. You need to be able to have this. You need to be able to say at the glance, this is what our technical architecture looks like. And I know that sometimes they say product managers do not need to have technical skills, but as a product manager, I am very, very inclined to say that you need to know, you need to have some sort of technical knowledge, in the sense that if I'm coming to your team for the first time, I want you as a product manager to be able to explain the high level architecture for me. Tell me the systems that your product touches. At least when you're investigating an issue, you know where you're going to go to say that, okay, yes, so we use, not to call any product, sorry, or not to call any backend system for any company, but we use Azure, for example. Well, but we use ASW to do a particular thing. Maybe that's why we use one thing. You have like an idea of where the issues are. So if an issue pops up and the support team is reaching out to you to say, oh, there's this issue, because you already know that, oh, this issue would be a maybe login issue. You're having a conversation with the person that handles login to say, this is a login issue. I'm assuming that it's this particular system, or you're even doing the investigation yourself to that system to know. Anyway, so you need to be able to have like the architecture and the design diagrams. This would help you, for anyone that is new to your company, to help you to do like an explanation to say this is why we've been able to do this, this is what it looks like today. Then we have the data flow diagram, a visual representation of how data flows through the production input processes and output. So this data that you're gathering, where is it going to? Who are the people that you're giving this data to? Oh, it's in our database. Okay. How would you that as a product manager, how will you be able to get that data? Uh, we've not been able to use it. So you need to be able to have like a data flow diagram as well to say, when we collect onboarding data today, this is where it flows to. So if you want to be able to get that onboarding data, this is how you get it. Just a very high level, to be honest. And you don't even have to do this by yourself. You can work with your engineering team to say, guys, the name and password that we, or the username and password that we collect today, they'll tell you that, yes, username and password goes to this thing. We store the username here. Or we at onboarding, we take name, surname, and what do you call it, an email address. This is where we store it. And this is if, oh, so if I want to get it, what would happen? We didn't even think about that though. So you add it into it to say, guys, okay, now we are storing all this data, but we need to be able to use it, right? So what will we do? And then they are able to tell you that, okay, maybe we'll put it in our next sprint, or we'll put it at, how important is it? Oh yeah, madam, prioritize it for us. Let's know which one is important. But you're able to have like a data flow diagram. There are also like test plans and test cases. Yeah, working with your QA, you're able to create like your test plan and test cases. So these are like documentation detailing the testing strategy, scenarios, test cases to ensure that to ensure the product's quality. In a place where I'd worked, this is very important. Before they even allow your product to go live, you're sharing it with like the approval board. Like we have a board where before things go live, you're giving it to them to say these are the test cases that we, because they want to know if you tested for every scenario, right? These are stakeholders that might not have been able to join your what do you call it, your demo, but you need to be, when you log it for deployment, you need to be able to say these are the test scenarios that we had, so that they would investigate, and if something happens in production, you already know that you covered all the ends. Oh, they saw the test cases, or they approved it, they saw our test plan, they allowed us go live, right? Then you have your release notes as well, which are basically documentation highlighting changes, enhancements, bug fixes, and new features introduced in product release. You have your API documentation. This is if you do any kind of thing, that products that do not have, like they do not have APIs for other people to integrate to. Like so your API documentation is in a situation where you have APIs where people are integrating to, or you're trying to integrate to something, API documentation is needed. So you have like your user manual and guides as well. This is a step-by-step representation or instruction of how the users are supposed to interact with this products and how they are able to navigate it. This helps you very well if you have a support team that you need to be able to train to say that if there's an issue, this is what you do. So you tell them how the user would interact with it. You also tell them how to solve the problems as well. Then you have your marketing and sales collateral, which sometimes, like I said, these days product and marketing are differentiated. So most times it's not a manager's responsibility. However, working with the marketing team, you should be able to say that, oh, these are our collaterals, these are the what do you call it? These are the flyers that we're going to use. These are the e-flyers or e-banners that we're going to use for launch. These are where our products are going to be, product placements are going to be, and all that. Then you have the project plans and schedules. This is something that the program manager or the project manager handles. But as the product manager, you already know that anything in this world that they're looking for as a concerns your products, even if they're looking for, I don't even know what they'll be looking for, they always refer to you. So it's very important that these things are kept and you know where to identify them. We also have things that like the meeting minutes, feedback and bug reports, change requests, code repository and documentation repository. So some people use Confluence to have their documentation, but you, as a product manager, you should be able to know where those things are. I can see that I'm like 20 minutes into time, so I'm trying to just finish up quick. So the last and the most and a very important fact is that you want to know why it's important to keep this product artifact. It's important for user adoption, right? You need to be able to, especially your guides and your user guides and user guides and user manuals and guides. Sorry, you want to be able to um, you want to users to be able to interact with your product. Sometimes, I mean, there are products that I've called my users into um, like a room to give them like a step by step walkthrough. There are some that like especially during after when we moved from having physical gatherings to when it was like everything was online. You call them online to say, I just wanted to train you guys. This is the product. This is how you interact with it. If you have any hiccup, this is where our support this thing is. They would help you. Also have interactions with your support team as well, because you don't want a situation where they are flooding your support team with like incident reports, or they're escalating to your support team and your support team is just like, God, I have no idea what to do, or I didn't even know that that product was in production. So you're also having conversations with your support team. So you also want like customer satisfaction as well. You want your customers to be satisfied. So you're keeping this artifact, especially when you're fixing bugs and you're telling them that, oh, we've done this. That's one of the importance of keeping product artifact to reduce support load. Like I said, if your support team, you're training your support team, you're keeping materials, they know where those materials are, right? Or you're sending materials to them. Your support team would not say, oh, let me even wait. We don't, they've not trained us on that though. They are able to actually support. Also, when you have taught your customers how to, when you have artifacts to teach your customers how to use your product, is it reduces the load for the support team as well, because the customers then do not have to go to support to say, oh, this thing is not working, because they understand. It's also very important for onboarding. So as I mean, I'm very sure any one of us that probably has like a job or something, or have joined a new team recently, I'm sure you would have seen how very difficult it is, especially like as an experienced hire. You know how difficult it is for you to integrate into like a new team. Everyone seems to be busy. Nobody has time on their calendar to just have you ask a few questions. If there's a product artifact, it's easy for you to just say, this is our product artifact. This tells you why we built the product. This tells you this tells you that, this tells you this. Everything that we had spoken about. In fact, even to minutes of meetings, they're able to have an understanding of why the product is there and what goal the product is trying to meet. Very great for onboarding. So for developer collaboration as well. I mean, if your developers do not have like architecture, or they are not keeping what they call it, or there's no sort of place where you're keeping artifacts. If a new engineer comes, or someone from the other team, like in the same company, someone from another team is saying that, guys, we have this problem that we're trying to solve. How would you know if that problem has been, if you've had that problem before, and if that problem has even been solved? Or there's an issue and so nobody is able to jump in to help because one developer that had left did not keep any kind of artifact, did not draw the architecture for us to be able to say that, okay, this is what it was. And when he was solving a particular problem, he did not document how he solved that problem. So now we have key man risk. The man has gone and there's no key to open the place that he has locked up. Do you understand? It's also very important for transparency as well, where we're able to you're able to see what people are doing. Your business team has like an idea of what you people are doing, of what the product and engineering team is doing. They do not feel like they're left in the dark if they have any issue. I know that there's a huge issue about people going to read artifacts, but you already know that that thing is there and you can always point them there. And if they're asking questions that can be easily answered by the artifact, you're like, guys, go over there. Oh, you said you did so 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 and so and so in the last week or in the past 1 month. You have been working on so 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 and so and so and so. Yep, there our Jira board is there. Oh, our lean board is there. You can be able to see everything. So these are some of the importance of keeping product artifacts. And with that, I just want to say thank you. I am done. I don't know if anyone has any questions. All right.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And we have questions here. So I'll just display them on the screen. Okay.
Where do we look at
Can you see it?
To be so I'm saying this Chuku Neyedu, is that it? Secondly, for the parts of skills you mentioned, business
Yes.
analysis, data, etc. How does the PM go about trying to learn those skills in bit without getting overwhelmed? So I hope I can call you Neye. So to be very honest, right, as a product manager, there's so many like moving parts that you need to be able to be accustomed to. For me, one thing that I have learned is that most times when I'm in the thick of it, so in situations where I need this skill, it's it's easier for me to learn it because I need those skill. I'm not just learning it in abstractly. So one what I would say is that except you're trying to be like a except you're trying to be like a data product manager, or you're trying to be like which other type of product manager, like that's specific to, if you're just trying to be a generalist, I'll say for now you just need to be able to have like a very high level knowledge of all these things. You need to be able to know how are you going to use data. So the data that you're gathering, for example, how are you going to use it? So you just need to stick to like being like doing the things that product managers would do. So understand how to use data, understand how to don't worry, business. I don't want to shit on anyone's job, but I want to say that business analysis is also part of what product managers do, in the sense that if you have a guide, if you have like a 1 month guide, for example, say I want to be a product manager, right? You should be able to list out all the things that you should be able to do as a product manager at the end of that 1 month, right? So I would say just Google, search what are the attributes that a product manager is supposed to have, right? Or product managers are supposed to have like data analysis skills. Product managers are supposed to be this, that, right? List them out and then give yourself like a, you can go on where you can go on Google as well to find out how like what materials you need to read to be able to get those skills, but this should be very high level. When you then, if you're then looking for a data analysis if you want to be like a data product manager, for example, or you want to be a business analyst, that's when you go into the deep or into depth into these topics. But if you're just trying to be a product manager, just research the skills that product managers need, right? What are the skills that you need? And then you can create your own learning plan on how you can go into that so that you will not be overwhelmed. I see that sometimes um, it becomes overwhelming when we are giving ourselves unrealistic timelines, when we are saying that, oh, in the next 2 months, or maybe we see an advert that someone said, oh, in 2 weeks, I landed my product manager job in a top one firm. That's very unrealistic. So you need to be able to follow your own pace. I know that there's with like inflation and a lot of things, there's this need for us to get what we need fast, especially in this age where it's almost like everybody's balling but you. But to be very honest, you need to be able to go with your own pace. Create a plan for yourself, a reading plan, create a learning plan for yourself, and say that at least, and then stick to it. If it's going to take you 1 month to do it, if it's going to take you 6 months, you already know that your goal is in the next 6 months, or at least in a year from now, I would have this skill to be a product manager that I'll be able to ace any interview and actually do the work very well. Please, isn't number 7 to 10 not the role of a product marketer? I'm assuming that this what you're talking about is this what you are talking about? So market testing,
Yeah,
commercialization
process development for the site.
are great. So to be very honest, market testing is not the job of a product marketer. It is a product management role. So when it comes to market testing and commercialization, because it sounds, I can see why it sounds like it's a product marketer role, but it's not. It is being able to test your products, get feedback, and then commercialization is basically being able to move your products from this pre-production stage to the stage where customers outside of your inner carcass are using your product. So while there are some things that the product marketer would have to do in terms of advertising, where, like I said, it comes in launch and marketing as well. As a product manager, you need to be hands-on to know who are the people that are using it, because you can't just hands off and say, oh, product marketer is going to deploy a market go to market strategy. No, you need to be able to be in the know. Where are these people deploying? Like, what's the market strategy, or what's the go to market strategy as a product manager? So even if some things here are going to be done by the product marketer or the marketer or the advertising team, as a product manager, you are basically going to shadow them to understand where these things are going to get data, to understand feedback. Because if you don't want to, so if you have like, especially if you're even a product manager that is in charge of like the profit and loss, you don't want a situation where what do you call it? You don't want a situation where there's a huge budget that is going to your marketing team and you don't have any idea what the output of that this thing is, where the marketing team is just coming to show you slides to say in quarter one we reached one thing, and your insight saying that but that's not what is reflecting in my transactions. Oh, we did above the line, we did below the line, we did on the line, and you have no idea what's going on. So as a product manager, even though there are some things that you might not do because really you do not take the role of a product marketer, you need to be able to shadow your product, your marketing team, to understand why are they deploying this amount of money, or x amount of money into like social media, for example. Why are you getting an influencer? Why do you think our product needs an influencer? You need to be able to have like that kind of knowledge, so you can be able to, because no one knows your customers the way you would know your customers, so you can be you'll be able to speak from a product perspective as well as a customer perspective. I hope I've been able to answer you, Naya. Any other questions? Hello. Okay, so who do we perform all these tasks? Who do we perform all these tasks? Creating area. Are you saying how? How do we perform all these tasks
I
remotely?
think
Is
it's
that
how.
ah?
Yes, how.
All right, no problem. So remote, right? Yeah, it's very, very so. Indeed, you can actually perform some of these tasks remotely. Creating, collaborating. So in recent times, I think the only thing that I haven't done, because the team that I work in now, there's someone that does that, would be like usability tests. So I haven't, I mean, even with usability tests, sometimes you can do them remotely because you'd get like your customer segments. But yes, it's very, very like you can perform all these tasks, some of them remotely, right? In terms of collaborating, there are so many tools that you can use to collaborate. For example, Teams is a tool for collaboration where, especially when you're collaborating with, because obviously you always collaborate with your internal team, you can have some things that I use when I'm doing like internal collaboration is like I have a mirror board where um that mirror board is, because sometimes it might be hard to use Excel or it might be hard to use PowerPoint and all that. You have this mirror board where ideas are just imputed there. You're creating your even Miro has like templates where if your mapping out value stream, for example. There's a template for mapping out value stream where you're having conversations with people real time and you're mapping out value stream. I have had PI planning, like program increments planning on Teams before, not even before. Like I've always had my program implement in program increments planning on Teams when you're watching program increments planning videos and you're just like, oh, people are going to the board to put in like their sticky notes. I'm just like, does not sound familiar to me. They've always been on Teams. So yes, Teams is a very great tool for collaborating. You have things like mirror boards. So depending on what you're trying to do, you can find the tool that you would be able to use to collaborate. I should have put some tools there, but good day, Sean. As a PM doesn't mean you have to work with one company forever, since every product does not really have an end unless it's being withdrawn. Girl, Francis, are you a girl or a guy? Nah. It doesn't mean that you need to work with one company forever. No, no, not at all. So I can't tell you how your career trajectory or progression is going to be like. That's basically for you. For me, I kind of have like an idea of when I need to leave a company. So sometimes, as human beings, sometimes you feel like you might not be valued as much as you were before. Sometimes things change, to be very honest. The goals that you wanted for yourself would have changed. Sometimes the trajectory of your life changes, so it gets you to tend to move companies. Sometimes you like it is a very personal thing, has nothing to do with um like I can't tell you. Sometimes you have reached, oh, so in terms of product life cycle, right? There is a life cycle for a product where the product would have reached maturity and then it starts to decline. So sometimes when that product starts to decline, you might say that, oh, you might have been in that company till it reaches maturity and you're just like, oh, that's my achievement. I have reached, we went from 0 customers to 1 billion customers, right? And that 1 billion customers might actually last for 5 years, 10 years, and you're just like, it's important to strike while it's hot or leave when you are having like the greatest upload. So it's basically not a me to tell you when to leave a company, but it's to say that products have life cycles and there are times that you would have reached a maturity stage for a product. I can mention like 2 or 3 products that have reached their maturity state, and after maturity it starts to decline. And sometimes when it starts to decline, that's when they try to add like new features or they try to transition the product from being one thing to the other. And of course, products, there are times that you have to retire products that Google have said, you know what, it's time for us to say bye-bye to this product. But it's for when to leave it, no. And the products last forever? No, they do not last forever. They have like a life cycle, and there are times that you would have to retire the product. But as a product manager, literally, that's your responsibility to understand when your product has evolved. So I would use, you know what? I'm not calling names, but there are products that you would have built for teens. There's a particular banking product that they did catch them while they're young, and most of us, it was when we were just starting the university or when we were just leaving secondary school that we're just like, oh God, this is the only person that would allow us open, So we used them, but we have matured now. And it's very possible that that product would not have evolved with us, right? So we might get to a point where, as users, we then drop that product to go to something else. And it's very possible that we've gotten to a point in our life where that product like doesn't meet the needs that we are trying to solve for, because life has actually changed. Life from when we were teenagers has changed from now. So as a product, you do have life cycle, and yes, there are times that you retire the product or you change the product to meet the current target audience that you're trying to meet. Anyways, I hope I've answered your questions. I think most PM roles are on contract basis. Correct me if I'm wrong. So I don't know where, like I said, I'm not very familiar. I don't know where exactly you are from, so I'm not sure. But in Nigeria, products are not on contract basis. Most product roles I have seen are full time. In other parts of the world where they indeed have like contract roles that are actually contract roles where you can work for, like, your contract is to work for 8 hours in a week, for example. Yeah, I see product roles being contract roles there, but I don't think there are contract roles for products in Nigeria. I hope I've been able to answer your question. What other question is there? Um, next. And can I have the next question, please? Gracious, have I been able to answer your question? Okay, my question is, what are the challenges faced by product managers when working remotely for a company abroad? Um, okay, so I am I like to believe that what you mean is, as a product manager in Nigeria, if you're working for a company that is abroad, what are the challenges that you would face? To be very honest, this is actually a very great question. I think that one of the challenges that you would face would be, well, it's very dependent on the type of products you are working on and the type of organization that you have. But if you're not able to, I hope I'm still okay, great. You would not have the ability to have one-on-one conversations with your customers. You would always be dependent on whoever is going to do that customer research for you, especially in a situation where data is not being, like, you can't easily have data, right? You would have the issues around being able to speak to your customers, being depending on someone to speak to your customers for you. There is also literally it will be issues around being able to also collaborate. If the company that you're working with is not a company that is like a remote company where your role is just the one that is remote, you realize that people are having meetings, um like conversations are being held offline, and you're not putting the no because, oh, we just had a meeting room and we just had a conversation. So those are some of the um problems that you would face. But in terms of like an elaborate list, it's be based on the products that you're managing as well as the type of company. So if your company is not a company that is really remote first, where everything has to be done online, where there's no, we don't use paper, so you will not say, oh, someone wrote it on a paper or in the office. No, where everything is done online, you have that issue around collaboration, as well as being able to have like then if it's the product itself, you'd have problems around being able to have conversations with your customers. So, for example, if you're a product manager for a Nigerian company and you are in the US, for example, and you already know that it's very hard to get data, or data in Nigeria is a little bit tricky. And then your customers, or your product is a product where your customers do not have time to come online. You actually need to go physically to them to observe how they are doing and all that. It will be a little bit difficult for you as a product manager. In product management, is the customer development done first before going into product development aspect? The customer development process is part of the product development process, actually, where for you to be able to, when you have gotten like an idea, right? And you have gone through like the phase where you're screening your idea, and you're going through the phase where just before you go into the phase where you start testing, you need to be able to develop who your customers are. So who are the people you're going to go and test with? Who are the people that because if you don't have, like, if you've not been able to develop your customers, know where they are, what their what do you call it, what their personalities are, what, how much they're able to spend on like this disposable, what is their disposable income, or where you can reach them, right? You will not be able to have like prototypes or designs or wireframes to be able to go and meet them. So right before you just to go back to the slide, yeah, so right before your concept development, well, right before the testing part of your concept development, because you have developed the concept, you need to be able to identify who your customers are and do like customer development for them so that you would be able to reach them and reach the right people. Okay, I think those are all the questions. I think Favor, you asked this question twice, and I hope I've been able to answer you correct. Well, all right, guys. If we do not have any questions, we have come to the end of it. Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate all the questions. This was like way. I had more questions today than I had last week Saturday. So, Ipa, thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, Maka or Ella. Is anyone here?
Okay, in. Hello, can you hear me? Hi,
Yes,
Sean.
yes, I can hear you now.
All right, so apologies about that. My network was just acting up. So thank you so much for this session. Thank you for coming on board despite how you feel. Really appreciate this. Thank you so much for your time. I believe we learned a lot and all questions have been answered. So much.
It has been. We
Yeah,
can.
all right. So okay, so I think that's all. I think bye everyone. Thank you once again. Take care of yourself.
Bye.
Bye.